This is the story of how the Austrian Audio OC-S10 won me over. But before I explain why, let's hear it on acoustic guitar and vocals.
I should have learned, I should have run away, I should have turned, I should have smiled, I should have turned away, but instead I stayed.
There are two main reasons I initially didn't want to receive this microphone. Firstly, I've got enough high quality mics. If I'm recording acoustic guitar, I normally reach for my Neumann KM184 pair. If I'm recording my own vocals, I generally find the AKG C414 is good enough. Now, when it comes to recording Suzi's vocals, well, she's a little bit fussy. She normally turns her nose up at everything apart from my Neumann U87. It's a classic microphone for a reason. It does sound very, very good. So I knew it was going to at least be difficult to convince her to love something else. The second reason I didn't want to receive this microphone is honestly because videos like this actually do take me about 50 hours or so to produce. And I couldn't see the point in spending 50 hours of my time to receive a microphone that I might end up just putting in a drawer and never getting out to use again. However, some clever person changed my mind. I'm glad they did, but before we get into that, I need to tell you, this video is sponsored by DistroKid. Follow the VIP link in the description down below to get 7% off an already amazing price to distribute your music to the world. So we receive the microphone, we get it out of its very nice packaging, and we proceed to test it out. Now, at the time, I just started writing a song. I had about a verse and a guitar part for it, and we thought, well, we'll try it out on that. And again, we weren't that enthusiastic. But after about 5 or 10 minutes, we started giving each other kind of knowing smiles. We both realized that this indeed was something a little bit special. It's really nice to hear through the headphones when you're tracking a very rich sounding microphone with a lot of depth, but something that also was sounding really nice and smooth on the top end. With the U87, Suzi's sibilance really does come through quite harshly at times, and I spent a lot of time in post-production tidying that up. This sounded a lot smoother in the high end, and we were so enthusiastic about what we were hearing. In fact, I hurriedly finished writing the song, and we decided to record the whole song with this microphone rather than just make a short demo for this video. You can find the link for the whole song in the description down below. And this was all before I actually realized what the full capabilities of this microphone were. And there's a couple of things that it does which are very, very special indeed. But before we get into that, I think we need to take a look at the specs. The Austrian Audio OC-S10 is a large diaphragm condenser microphone with a frequency range from 20 Hz all the way up to 22 kHz. It's extremely quiet with a self noise of just 8 dB, so you won't be hearing any hiss or mic noise. Recording loud sources is not a problem, as it can handle up to 147 dB SPL or 157 with the pad engaged. Now on board you've got pad switches at -10 and -20 dB, plus a low cut filter at 40, 80 or 160 Hz to tame that low end. It runs on the usual 48 volts of phantom power, and it comes with a very cool magnetically attachable high quality pop filter. It also comes with a shock mount and a sturdy carrying case and box. Now in terms of flexibility, you've got all of the main polar patterns: omni, wide cardioid, cardioid, hypercardioid and figure 8. But the really interesting part for me is the fact that we have two XLR outputs on the bottom. Having the dual outputs on this microphone optionally enables you to record the front and the rear capsules separately. Now, when you do that, you open up a whole world of possibilities in your DAW that simply aren't there with most other microphones. And to sort of realize those possibilities, Austrian Audio have provided 2 free plugins. The first of these is called Polar Designer. Now, simply put, this enables you to change the polar pattern of your microphone after recording in post. Okay, so I've got it set up at the moment, so we're just going to listen to the front capsule by itself with a cardioid pattern. Okay, so let's have a listen to the rear capsule, which is obviously facing away from the guitar. So that's a bit more of a kind of a room sound, yeah? So what about omnidirectional? Well, we've got some presets here. I'm going to select omnidirectional like this, and let's have a listen to that. A really kind of big sound. We're getting, you know, the front, the back, the room, everything. What about a figure of 8? I'll select that up here. Now this is going to reject the sides. Quite a different sound. Now, you can choose a number of different polar patterns which kind of sit in between these, and you can either select a specific one with the presets, or you can use this slider to sort of go between them. Let's quickly do that now so you can hear the change. Now, we're using the whole frequency range here to do this, but what's cool about this is you can use up to 5 different bands. So if you select 5 different bands, then you can adjust the polar pattern for each of those bands. I'm going to go just simple and go for 2 bands here. And I just want you to have a listen as I adjust the polar pattern for the low frequencies. So basically, it enables you to really shape the sound of your recording with in the way that you would if you were changing the polar patterns on the microphone at the time of recording. Now, another cool thing I'd like to point out here before we finish with this one is this proximity control. So I'm going to set this to the front polar pattern. These sort of more directional patterns work best with this proximity control. Now, if you don't know, I expect you do, the proximity effect with microphones is where if you move closer to the microphone, things get more sort of low end, bassy, move further away, and there's less and less low end. Well, they're kind of simulating this here with this control. So this is really important, or can be very useful for things like acoustic guitar, which, you know, can get a little bit out of control in the low end, for example, if you had that mic too close. So let's have a listen to this control. Really wonderful. Now, I'm sure that many of you must be thinking, hang on a second, if there's 2 outputs, doesn't that kind of make this microphone stereo? So yes, you can record in stereo. I wish I'd thought of this before I made the demo recording for the song, but that's fine. It sounded great in mono. But if you want to record in stereo, you just turn the microphone sideways, so the side of the microphone is pointing towards, in this case, the guitar. Now, they do have another plugin for this. It's free, called Stereo Creator. It can do some wonderful things, but first of all, I'm going to start off with it bypass, so you can just hear the raw stereo signal. Okay, that's fine. Now let's switch this plugin on. And what I'm going to do is have it in pseudo stereo mode here. And then I'm going to go through the different patterns for each side of a stereo image. Now, what you're going to hear here is it goes from a very mono sounding signal to a very wide kind of stereo signal. Let's have a listen to that. Just a super nice way to kind of shape that stereo image. But what I'm most excited about is the pseudo mid-side mode. I love recording acoustic guitar with a mid-side recording technique. However, it's a pain to set up. If you don't know anything about it, basically you have one microphone which points directly at the guitar, and then you'll have another microphone which can record usually in a figure of 8 pattern, and that's going to be sideways on. Then you've got to put it in your DAW and do a bunch of processing to make it kind of work. It's very, very natural sounding in my opinion, and it condenses down to mono really, really well, but I avoid it because it's just difficult to set up. Well, this makes it easy. Still had the microphone side onto the guitar. In this mode, I can now get this effect easy. That's probably my favorite sound for this guitar here. Now, I can adjust the mid and the side gains separately. So if I just bring the side all the way down, basically the mid's going to be the mono guitar, and I can introduce the sides and make it sound more stereo. Now, one of the massive benefits of mid-side recording is that when someone listens to this in mono, it's going to have a really good mono compatibility. So I'm going to switch my output now to mono. And what I'm interestingly going to do is actually adjust the side gain, and you'll hear no difference. It won't affect the mono image. Have a listen. Super useful because regular stereo recordings don't always sort of collapse into mono all that well. You can get all kinds of phasing issues. So this for me is super useful because it's my favorite kind of acoustic guitar sound for the type of music that I make, and it's going to make the whole setup of it so much easier. So here's the truth of it. Knowing what I know now, if I was faced between the choice of buying my U87 set or this microphone, I'd buy this microphone, absolutely, for sure. Not just because it's $750 cheaper at the moment on Sweetwater, but because it has everything that the U87 has, plus more. Those other features are going to be genuinely useful to me, especially the mid-side stereo feature that I just showed you. Now, in addition to that, I have to say, I never imagined in a million years that I would be hearing Suzi say things to me like, when are we going to use that mic again? I want to try it out on this song. I want to try it out on that song. She was never going to be won over, but she was. And you probably have no idea just how important that is or how amazing that is. So I definitely recommend listening to the whole song just to get a real feel for this. There's a link, as I say, for that in the description down below. There's also a link for the microphone in the description down below as well. And come back here and let me know your thoughts. Don't forget, by the way, if you are releasing your music to places like Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, etc., follow the VIP link in the description down below to our sponsor, DistroKid. You'll get 7% off of your first year of membership. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed making this video. I'm Mike. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.